Hello, listeners of the Versations podcast.
Hi. My name is. Hi. My name. Hi. My name is Broadway Classic.
Let's hear it.
Oh, another week, another chance to say hello. I hope you're well. I hope you're staying inside. Nothing's really changed with our quarantine, so hope you're doing well. I'm your host, Bri, like the cheese, and welcome back to the Versations podcast, or welcome if this is your first time. Lovely to have you. I thought we could just take a quick moment to wherever you're listening to this, whether it's inside, outside, I just want you to look around, see your surroundings, and pick 3 things that you're happy you have them in your life. Could be an object or a person. For me, it would be like my hairbrush and my hard drive. That's really important to me. And this pin I have from Precipice Productions. I miss those people very much. Thank you for doing that with me. I don't know, I just thought we could just have some gratitude today. Let's get into the podcast, though. My guest this week is Sophia Mangan, an old friend of mine. We've known each other since kindergarten almost. So it was really nice to catch up and see what she's been up to. Her story is so inspiring. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. It's like a little nice treat that you get to digest. I felt that way, at least when we recorded it. So please enjoy.
Held that dress. I was like, you're not getting me again.
Yeah. Hi, Sophia.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm so good. This feels very nostalgic in such a great way. We've known each other. I was trying to think like how long we've actually known each other.
I want to say since kindergarten. Senior or like junior kindergarten. Like it's been significant amount of years.
Some, going back to our like Chapel Hill elementary school days.
Shout out to Chappies.
Those Chappies. Yeah, and like the last time I saw you, I feel like was grad, like high school grad. So
yeah, I think it was like right then, or I think maybe even your last, I don't know if it was before or after grad, but your last dance performance at the Shankman Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that was the last memory I have of you.
Oh my gosh. Wow. It's incredible how time flies, I think, and we all kind of gone our separate ways and grown up. But catch me up on your life. What have you been doing these last 4 years?
Wow. A lot. So I actually am going to the University of Ottawa for biochemistry. The full discipline, it's a mouthful. It's Honours Biochemistry with a specialization in Immunology and Microbiology. So it's a lot. And then on the side, I actually do some modeling in my spare time, which is more the creative side compared to the sciencey biochem student. But just kind of balancing both of those. School's definitely a lot. There's a lot to get done with that. But, in my free time, I try to fill it with more fun things.
For sure. And I think that's really, I respect the dedication to both sides kind of thing. Cause I think, obviously biochem is such an intense program. I can't imagine the amount of homework and studying you have to be doing.
Yeah, there's a happy medium with it. First year, I feel like for any program, it's just them trying to weed out and, see who really enjoys that subject.
Right.
And then, as the years go on, you get better coping mechanisms and you find better ways to deal with it. Not to say there isn't a lot of homework with it. There is definitely a lot of reading scientific articles, which is no fun. It's just a lot of jargon.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's a lot, but it's still fun in its own way. So it's something I enjoy still, despite how heavy the workload is and how intense it can be.
And you've made it through. You're about to graduate, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You didn't have to
2
drop out
weeks
or
away.
anything?
No, I'm one of the few people I know who has stayed in my program from first year, and that might be a good or bad thing. Um, Maybe it's just I'm too lazy to start over. I think it's also has to do with I wanted to get through this and do the least amount of years possible.
Mhm.
But I think I'm the only person I know that started in biochem and is ending in biochem. I have a lot of people who have switched from biomed or biotech or things like that, which essentially they're all basically the same courses. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, it was a lot of dedication. But I'm like 2 weeks away, which is crazy.
So
Never thought
close.
I'd make it here of all
Yeah.
the places. um,
What an accomplishment for
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah.
I think and you said you specialize in what was it?
Immunology and
Immunology.
microbiology.
And now
Yeah.
if I haven't been very sciencey in a while, but that's talking about the immune system or the
Yeah.
health of, a regular person. Definitely
Yeah.
something really important right now
Yes.
in
Very
terms of
relevant.
COVID, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm actually taking a virology course at the moment
look
to
at
do with
that.
my specialization. And because I missed a midterm, my makeup assignment, because we can't do in-person, tests anymore,
Hmm.
is writing a 3-page report on COVID-19. So
Oh my
I get
God.
all the fun of how does this virus affect people and what's the replication cycle and all the little small scientific details about the virus, and
Yeah.
super relevant. Very, A plus for my teacher for making such a creative assignment.
Yep, definitely.
Um,
Very
yeah,
current.
so but yeah, it's all very relevant. And I mean, when picking my specialization, I'm not gonna lie, I picked it to avoid chemical, what was it? Analytical chemistry. I did not
Mm.
pick it because I thought like, oh yeah, I really love microbiology and immunology. I was like,
Hmm.
nope, analytical chem. I've heard it's a bad course. I'm gonna take the specialization to avoid it. And it surprisingly turned out to be a passion of mine. I absolutely love
Yay.
it, and it's super relevant, which is great
Mm.
when trying to find a job, especially
Yeah.
during something like this.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, it worked out perfectly. I mean, as all things should. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, well, hopefully, for sure. I think that's really cool. So it became a passion, and you don't really think of science necessarily as something that is completely about passion, or like
Yeah.
it's such a cutthroat STEM,
Yeah.
especially. Like I think, and as a woman, right? I
Yeah.
think I'm curious how you've found creativity in science, how you've been able to interweave those.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult. Science is definitely something that's like, oh, this person did this, so you're just gonna repeat it and add to it. So there's not really much room for creativity.
Mm,
It's usually just building off of other people's ideas or performing experiments based off your supervisor's ideas.
right.
Um, but I think that there are a lot of places where the two things do intersect. Um, for example, I mean, I have a friend who is trying to go into illustrations, scientific illustrations.
Right, you were
And
telling me.
yeah, so she's an artist first. She's always sung and played guitar and draws. And she found a program that perfectly fits both her science passion and her drawing. And you can create figures and you can do animations and things like scientific animations. And that's a huge thing now. And personally, I don't find myself as an artist or a creative. I don't think of myself in that aspect. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not a producer of art. I find that I more partake in it.
Mm,
Um, so I incorporate it into a lot of things I do, but I don't find that I'm producing a lot of it. I mean, I do a lot of presentations. You are always giving presentations, and I think I enjoy those the most because I get to create these slides that are aesthetically
nice.
pleasing,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
get to incorporate pictures. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this, and I get to use different softwares where I can draw bacteria or I can biorender. It's a great one. You do your methods and you get to use different pictures and cut and paste them, and they're different figurines. And I really enjoy stuff like that. And it's not something that I could draw, by hand. I mean, I have horrible handwriting. Like, if you've known me for my whole life, you'll know people rag on me for my handwriting. I can't draw. I'm not like artistic at all, but stuff like that, getting to incorporate that into my science really is like the fun parts of the science.
Mm,
The less fact-based part of it, just being able to showcase your work in a pretty manner. And
right.
my friend, I'll give her a shout out. Her name's Izzy.
Mm-hmm.
So IZZY Tad, TAD, I think on Instagram.
On Insta, okay.
Yeah, so
I will
her
link
name,
that below as well, so people can
yeah.
check it out.
So she's an artist, but she's in biotech, which is an even more intense course than what I'm in. It's a
Right.
biochemistry degree and a chemical engineering combined. So
Jesus.
yeah, you don't expect that from scientists. You
Right.
don't expect that from people in science.
Yeah.
But being able to like combine that creativity with science, I find is more common than people think.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely around me, and definitely something that I use from time to time, you know, as I said, with presentations and even just finding creative ways to do things in the
Mm-hmm.
lab, and you know, trying to figure things offhand. Like it's not always straightforward facts science. So yeah.
I imagine that that helps you, you know, become an individual a bit more and feel like you have a voice in all of this, right? Like
Yeah.
being able to innovate in some small way is still, you know, it still brings out your creativity and still allows you to say something, you know, rather than just like going off of what your teacher is saying kind of thing.
You know, like these are the facts, and this is like, for example, my honors project, what I'm doing. uh, I basically showed up and my supervisor said, okay, this is what we want to investigate, and from there I was given freedom when it comes to presentations, and freedom given protocols and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really where I was able to express my creativity. And it does make me feel like I had a voice. And you know, when recognition time comes and when we present what we do, that's a way that I can put my name on it, because I didn't come up with the original idea, but I helped shape that idea into what it is. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really great. And I'm glad that you've been able to find that in yourself, right?
mhm.
Especially still in school, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
being able to have the chance to do it before being thrown out into the world.
Yeah, yeah. This crazy world that we're living in right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about the other part. Yeah, you said you partake, you're almost a vessel for other people's vision, I guess. How I would
Yeah.
sort of but how has modeling, you know, what has that been experience like for you?
Well, that has been an equally crazy experience, and that
Mm-hmm.
started before I even had a vision of science. I mean,
When
I
exactly did you start modeling, if I
I
can ask?
think I started in 10th grade.
Okay, yeah. I remember you doing a little bit while we were still in high school.
Yeah, it was a very slow progress. It feels like the time frame feels, it's so hard to keep track of when I
Mm-hmm.
started and everything like that.
Right.
But I believe it started in 10th grade. Um, and it was such a slow progression because I was so terrified entering that world.
Mm.
It was so outside of my comfort zone. I've always been a little bit more reserved. I hated being in the spotlight. Like any way to not draw attention to myself. Um, in that kind of aspect, like I just didn't like being the center of attention, and it felt awkward walking in heels. And I was
Mm.
already so tall that heels was never something like in my closet. Um, and so it was, I think it really started to boom more around 12th grade, first year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why it's like blurry for me where
Right.
it
Yeah.
started and where it ended, because when I first started, like it took me so long to
Mm.
even get up the courage to go to those castings and to,
Gosh.
yeah, to do things. So,
I relate to that completely. I mean, auditioning or you
oh
know,
yeah.
putting yourself out there in such a vulnerable way is really, it's scary. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you, I know things started picking up around grade 12, but like how did you even get past that fear?
Um, I think it came a lot with just diving into it. Like that's
Mm.
the only way that I found throughout my life, whether it be modeling or anything else. You just have to do it. Um, And I wasn't that serious about it in grade 10. Like I never went into it saying like, oh, I'm going to be this model. I mean, the story of how I started, like I didn't go trying to be one. I went to support my sister who wanted to be an
Oh,
actress.
okay.
And then I got picked out of the crowd and they're like, hey, do you want to model? And I was like, oh, I guess.
What a success story. I love that.
Yeah. So like, that's why I think it was hard for me to grasp onto that. But then once
Right.
I started doing it and I had these few experiences here and there, I thought, you know, like I really enjoy this. I like it. So my agent, Angie, from Angie's Models and Talent, she recalled me in and she said like, hey, you seem to be someone who is a lot more shy, who might need a little bit more help and a little bit more coercing into things.
Mm.
So she just kind of entered me into the agency with a little bit more coaching on my walk and
Okay.
things like that. And she really paid special attention into sending me to certain things that she knew would get me more confidence.
Nice.
And then from there, I just kind of, it picked up speed and I just kept going to everything that was handed my way. Volunteer shows, shoots, you know, anything. I would show up and do it. Like I'd be terrified, but I would just do it. And
Wow.
I like a lot of the confidence or any confidence I have today, I really attribute to that. Because the ability to show up, like it's just in any, like I think you could agree even in dance, like to show up and be like, this is my best work, this is who I am, this is what I look like
On
this
this
is my
day
best.
or something like that. Yeah.
And to have someone like judge you and kind of like look you up and down and look at what you're producing and be like yes or no,
Yeah.
that's a lot. And to walk away from all of those no's really gives you a sense of confidence every time you go back, you know.
Yeah.
Like to be told no and then to go back, like you're just getting better every time, you know. So I think
Yes.
it was it was years of yeses and years of no's that really shaped you know, whatever career I've had in modeling.
Yeah, I that very inspiring words, by the way. Like completely, I understand that feeling when you hear a no and you think, but why? Like I feel perfect for this part, or I feel like the vision is totally me, but for some reason they say no. Do you ever come out of a casting call or something and just feel so down or feel like rejected for like a little second maybe, and then
all the
pick
time
yourself up?
It's and sometimes, I mean, that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about in industries like that.
Right. Like rejection.
Like a lot of the time you only, I mean, it's like with anything social media based, you only see the positives. You only see the celebratory things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've gotten a few no's where it hurt, man. Like it was not
Totally.
like, I was like, what happened? Like, what the fuck did I do wrong here? Like, why was I not it? And especially in something like modeling, where people have this perception of to be successful, you have to be the most gorgeous thing on this planet. You have to be beautiful. It really takes a stab at your self-esteem when people say no to you because you're like, oh, am I not pretty enough?
Right.
Like, that's automatically what people assume when they talk about modeling. But one thing I've learned about modeling is it has nothing to do with like beauty, like just in isolation. I mean, like it's not just, oh, you are the most beautiful person, so you're getting the job. It's really a vision. It's how people see things. It's the story behind it that people want to come across, and you just might not fit that storyline. You know, like I know that I'm someone who I'm more high fashion, I'm more runway. Okay. And that's something that as soon as you find what you more connect with and what this message you're trying to get across with, the more you can get over those no's, you know?
You know who you are,
exactly,
and what you believe in, yeah.
I don't think I'm the type of person who should be casted in, like, I'm not the typical girl next door, bubbly, you know, like flirty, like I'm not that person. Okay. But throw me in like some weird wig and like weird makeup and create, like I can bring across that, like that, you know, that haute couture feeling that you're trying to get. Not so much that bubbly, like, oh my God, check out this lip gloss.
Mm.
But at the beginning, I
Cover
didn't know
girl or
that.
whatever. Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
Like at the beginning, I didn't know that. And
Mm.
that's when that really hit me.
Do you
Um,
find that just going off of that topic, like, do you find that you compare yourself to other people who are the typical, beauty and how do you, like I really it's great that you can figure out who you are. I'm just
mhm.
curious how you're always having to look to see other things in magazines and the prettiest
Yeah.
people. Like,
I
I don't
think
know.
that that's not something that just I go through. I
Totally.
think
Yeah, yeah.
every single person on this planet is always being shoved in their face a certain type of beauty or aesthetic, or this is what
Mm,
makes you pretty. I mean, when I started modeling in grade 10, like there was always praise for the tall, tiny, like skinny, you have to be these certain measurements.
right,
But
right.
now, as we're seeing certain brands coming out and certain people coming out, it's definitely being like the thicker girl. And like,
Mm.
I mean, I'm
You can't
not
please
that.
everyone. Like, it's just yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
so hard.
um, yeah, it's just like something that people are kind of shown every single day. You have to look like this, you have to have this aesthetic, you have to be this certain talent, you have to dance like this, you have to sing like this, you have to
Mm-hmm.
be a model like this.
Mm.
um and yeah, like I definitely, I'm someone who sometimes I backstep and I compare and I say,
Right.
well, why doesn't my hair do that? Or why is my bone structure not like this? Or
Mm-hmm.
why am I not gaining weight or losing weight in certain places? Um, I have to say, I have a great support system.
Mm.
I've always had people who've had my back and who have always the perfect words at the right moments for me. And whenever I kind of backstep or slide back a little bit, they're always there to catch me and push me right back forward. So it doesn't happen as often for me. And I've been super lucky and blessed in that way. But I
That's
remember
amazing.
leaving castings and seeing girls younger than me crying their eyes out.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
there's some horrible things said to people in industries like this. And it really can affect you. And if you don't have those people around you in those moments, or if you're too young,
Mm.
you could really be affected
Right.
very negatively.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I compare, but I easily kind of move past that and realize like I'm so uniquely me,
Mm.
that there's no one who could compare. And I feel like everyone should feel like that. Like
Yes.
you're so uniquely you. Like who can you compare yourself to that aligns up everything that you are?
Totally. Yeah.
But
It sounds too like just going back to your support system. It sounds like
mhm,
Angie, the person who's representing you,
mhm.
knows what your strengths and knows that to play to that and encourage you in some way. How has she been a role model or a mentor for you?
Well, Angie's has been a great, I think it was the perfect placement for me for
Mm.
where I was and who I was at that time. And it felt like like it's run by Angie and her husband Lou and her
Okay.
daughter Helena Alexis and her son that runs the Toronto division. And it's such like a close-knit family type
Mm.
vibe that I
Okay.
think that's exactly what I needed. Like I couldn't have shown up to an office building who no one really knows anyone and like you're meeting a new assistant every time. Like I feel like that would have been too much for me.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but she really spent time with all of her models and she teaches the classes and her
Mm.
daughter does the photo shoots. And I think that for where I was, it was really perfect to get me that help and to kind of really see me and show me why I deserve to be there. Um, so that was a great, definitely support system.
Nice.
And my mom has always been super supportive in
She's the
everything I've done.
best.
Yeah, she's great.
I haven't spoken to her in a while, but I always remember such good memories, of
Well,
her.
I'm glad she'll
Yeah.
be very happy to hear that. She's been like super mom always.
Nice.
She drove me to Toronto for a day, like for the day just to do a casting. Like
Oh, the best.
she sets up these shoots for me wherever I go. She's really like super organized. She's super into it. And, you know, she's always
Great.
been like, when you want to stop, you stop. And when you want to do it, you do it. And that's just that. And I've always had friends and people around me that are like just super kind and caring. And, you know, they never got hype up into the hype of like, oh, she's a model, whatever. Like they've always seen me for me. And they've said like, you know, we see when you're struggling in this, and we see when you doubt yourself in this, and we see when you want to quit and when it's too much. And, you know, we're not going to let you do it based off of insecurity.
Nice.
If it's something you don't want to do, you don't do it. And, you know, when you do, you succeed, and that's it.
That's lovely to hear. Yeah, you definitely need such a great support system when there's so much rejection and so much criticism around what beauty is, the ideals of that all. Yeah, I really like that you said you're a storyteller. I think that is so beautiful, and especially with like an image or a certain frozen moment, right? With photo shoots. How do you capture a story in such a small little way, or you know what I mean?
There's so many things that goes into that. I mean, you definitely have to go into a photo shoot knowing what the vision is.
Okay.
And I try to definitely with the photographer and the designer or the makeup artist or whoever I'm working with at the time, I try to ask them questions about like, what are you trying to communicate? Like, what does this dress that you made tell you? What is it speaking to? Or with the scenery, what are we trying to get across in this shot? Is it a beauty shot? Is it more like you want me to tell a certain story with it? And it's hard. One thing that I definitely fall back on is listening is the biggest part of it. Like I'm really quick to listen. And if they say do this or do that or more of this, I instantly try to implement that, because it's hard to just get in front of a camera and be like, okay, I'm going to do all of this, when it might not be the person who's taking the picture knows what you look like and knows what looks best.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of communication in my shoots. I ask a lot of questions. I take a lot of pauses and say, should I do this? Should I do that? And I feel like that's the best way to get across a certain story. It's just listening, listening and trying to produce what they're telling you to.
In the span of like 5 seconds or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Adapting, I'm sure, is something that you have to do a lot.
Definitely quickly on the fly doing things. But it depends on the shoot too. Like some shoots I've had have lasted like hours, literally hours. And then some it's just like, okay, we have lots of models, quick, like everyone line up, we have to take these photos. So it really depends on, you know, how long I'm there and what's happening and how intimate it is, and the prep process that really determines how I like produce what I'm producing in the moment. Definitely going off of what other models around me are doing. If there are other models, like if they're getting good photos, I'll be like, oh, okay, like, and try to implement what they're trying to get across in their shoots into mine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about too, like runway versus photo shoots, and where, you know, I'm literally so under experienced with all this. I've never even been to a fashion show, but I when I watched, you know, I'm thinking of Victoria's Secret or something. You know, the models have to. There's a timing when they come out, and they only get, you know, one little walk, and that's it. Like, like, what do you do with that? You know, like
they are two completely different vibes. Photo shoots and runway are so different from each other. And it is so hard to pick a favorite, because so for a runway show, I could be there for 12 hours because they have hundreds of models. They have to get clothing on, they have to get makeup on, they have to make sure everyone's there, they have to practice. So you can be there for literally a whole day.
Oh my gosh.
Just to be on the runway for a minute.
Wow.
And there's some models who have multiple designers, and they're in it. Like, it's just, if you are in the backstage of a runway, it is nothing like on the stage. On the stage, everything looks perfect. Everything looks put in place and put together. You walk backstage, as soon as I have walked off of the runway, you're getting clothes ripped off you, you're getting new clothes put on you, you have people doing your makeup.
Oh my
like
gosh.
You're literally this mannequin getting people thrown on you to switch your makeup and outfit, and then you're running to the other side of the stage to get back on the stage to then take 2 deep breaths and get on this runway and try to make it look like you didn't just have the most like hectic backstage experience ever. Whereas a photo shoot, it's a lot more airy and breezy and, you know, go with the flow and creative process.
Right.
It's definitely more creative. Whereas the runway, it's all the creativities beforehand where people are making up the makeup ideas or the design, and then backstage is all organization, efficiency, everyone get on stage when you need to be where we need to be. Like it's pretty hectic, but I'm definitely more of a runway person. I do it a lot more despite the fact that I don't wear heels often, so trying to run in them backstage and then get on stage and trying not to trip, it's a lot. But it's fun. It's always fun, and it's always exciting.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, the circus that goes on backstage, and so many people involved, I'm assuming, right? Like
there's so
PAs, like a lot of people that help.
Yeah, there's each designer, and each designer has their, you know, their dressers, and then there's like you'll get like 10 to 50 makeup artists depending on how big the show is, and then you'll have hairstylists, and then you'll have lighting and photographers and like everything. Like there's just so many people, so many creative, like different creative people put together. Like there's music and there's designing and there's hairstyling and there's photography and there's makeup artists, and like there's just so many creative people put into one place. But there's so many people, period, that it's just a zoo. Like it's just a circus back there. It's crazy.
Everyone's scrambling just to breathe, I guess. You know? Wow. Oh, I mean, I would love to come and watch once the virus is all over and things are actually happening again. Did you have any upcoming shows or runways?
Not at the moment. I mean, everything is really on pause, and that
right.
Unless you're submitting acting videos, that would be the only way to kind of get anything. But also for the past year, I haven't really done much because just it's been my last year, and I had my honors project, which took up like a lot of my time.
You know, the little thing that's called university.
Schooling, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
But I hopefully was planning on having this summer to have a break and get back into it.
Nice.
And we'll see. We'll see how that goes, if I'm allowed to be within 6 meters of people.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe when you're up there, you're a little bit, you know, distant from the audience. But once you go backstage, you're like too many people beside me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I mean, I hope things pick up again once the virus is over.
Yes, hopefully things go back to somewhat normal.
I know. I mean, we've been talking about such serious things. I'm very interested to hear about, you know, some you know, fails or mishaps that have happened on set or on the runway. Any fun stories?
Oh boy, I have a few.
Great.
I remember I was doing this runway show in a church, and oh man, like I don't know who made this executive decision, man. Like I don't know what was going through their head, but we had to go down a set of stairs. And they weren't like just a normal set of stairs. Like they were very, like you could probably tiptoe up them. That's how much space was on each step.
Oh, okay.
But I'm wearing, oh gosh, I don't know, like how tall, like 6-inch heels. So my 5'8" is like 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
And then the lights were at the perfect level. I mean, I'm making up all these excuses, but I'm just trying to set the stage here.
No, for sure. I'm envisioning all of this. Yeah.
The lights were at the perfect height that, you know, you can't see anything coming from behind these curtains onto the main stage. And then you have to walk down a set of steps and then walk to the end of the like pews all the way back. And you cannot see a single thing. Like I couldn't see anyone in front of me. So I I come out from backstage. Obviously, they let us practice, but the lights weren't on. You know, there's not people, there's not music blasting.
Right, right.
I come out on stage and I'm like, okay, like I got this. You know, your mental checks where you're like, okay, is my posture good? Is my head up high? And then I walk up to these stairs and I'm like, fuck, yeah, it's gonna happen. And I took one step, and you know that thing where you're wearing heels and then your ankle like does that buckle, like
It just like spazzes for a second.
yeah, you like pretend to break your ankle.
Right, right.
So I take my first step and my ankle buckles, and then I like have to run down the rest of the stairs so that I
Oh my
don't
God.
completely wipe out. And I'm sure if a photographer was taking a picture at that moment, they would have just had a pure terror on my face as I'm running down these stairs, trying not to break an ankle or wipe out.
Right,
And then, I get to the bottom of the stairs, I recompose myself and just keep walking and I pretend like it didn't happen.
a true professional.
Yeah, so that was pretty embarrassing, but that wasn't the worst. I also had a show where I was wearing a very tight, very small dress. And you're not supposed to like move or make things too obvious when you're walking. But I guess the dress was riding up a little too much. And I was like trying my hardest to keep it down without like stopping to pull the dress down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't grab it in time.
Oh gosh.
So there may or may not be a photo with a tiny bit of my underwear showing, like where you don't have to make it a big deal, guys. It's fine.
Fine.
Still cringe every time I think about it, but I did
Aw.
fix it. And when we did our grand finale, held that dress. I was like, you're
Yeah,
not
you
getting
did.
me again.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah, so those are definitely my funniest stories when it comes to modeling.
Oh gosh. Costume mishaps too. Like that's the worst because it's like not even your fault,
Wardrobe malfunctions, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not great.
I'm sure you still looked stunning and, composed yourself in a way that no one noticed.
It's like Tyra Banks said, "Ho, but make it fashion."
Yeah. That's great. Oh man. I saw it too, like on your Insta, you were like modeling with horses, and what was that like?
Oh my gosh. So I have so many amazing experiences with modeling aside from those awkward ones. I mean, I got to do a photo shoot in Cuba. I did a 3-day shoot with a great team. We actually did it in downtown Havana, one of the days. And, I had these old like I want to say like 50s. I don't know. I don't know cars. My bad. This is not my expertise.
Neither do I, so don't worry.
I have like a 2004 Honda, guys. Like I'm not up to date with cars. But there's just these beautiful old cars that I'm taking pictures in. And then I also got another chance to work with another clothing company in Barbados.
Wow, nice.
And a swimsuit brand there too. So that was like really cool. But one of my best, so aside from traveling, in Ottawa, actually, I got to do a photo shoot with these 2 horses that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. That was, I think, definitely one of my favorite photo shoots ever. I mean, I used to horseback ride when I was like very young,
Right.
But definitely didn't manifest into anything. Like I just kind of stopped because every girl goes through some sort of animal
horse phase. Yeah.
I didn't want to say horse phase. Oh God.
Now I'm thinking of that movie or a horse girl or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. But yeah, I didn't. My mom used to horseback ride. I horseback ride anyways. So she had a few friends who own horses actually, and I worked with a designer, Christy Lance. She's a great designer. I've worked with her multiple times. And we kind of got together this team of people and we said like, let's just do a photo shoot with these horses. And
so cool.
Got me on the back of them at some point, which was crazy. And I'm just there sitting on a horse, taking photos, trying to like give fashion while also simultaneously terrified that this horse is going to take off with me on the back.
Oh my gosh.
And one of them, I forget their names, but one of them, there was a male and female horse, and he was rowdy. Oh my God. And it was definitely hard to take photos with him, but the girl, the female horse and me, we just we really connected, and we got some really great photos out of that shoot.
No, they
It
do
was,
look really good, the
thank
photos.
you.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so dope. It was definitely an experience that I would suggest to everyone. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
that's one thing with modeling. I've gotten so many experiences, like photo shoots on boats and in different countries and with people with different backgrounds. And it's just, yeah, that was definitely a really cool one. It was dope.
Yeah, and I mean, your early days of riding horses helped, right? Because then
Yes.
you're not too terrified to be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be very comfortable to be sitting,
It was, yeah, it was hard, especially because a lot of the photos were in dresses.
right.
So you're bareback on a horse. There's no saddle.
There's no sound. Oh my God.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there, just
Trying to
no
hold on.
no material, not much material separating you from animal,
Oh
which
my gosh.
not the favorite part of that experience. But the photos I think were worth it. Sometimes, there's certain things that I wouldn't cross and I wouldn't do, but that one was one of them that I was like, you know what? It's like a bathing suit. That's all I had to think. I'm wearing a bathing suit on a horse.
Making the best out of it. Wow, I love that.
Just trying my best.
That's amazing. I really think that's just so cool that you can be flexible enough to try and figure out all these crazy shoots and traveling too. That's so
Mhm.
dope. Like, where else have you traveled? You said Cuba. Where else was it that you've been?
Barbados.
Barbados, right?
Yeah,
Which
I
is great.
haven't.
That's your background,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
where my people are from, my family. Um, I haven't. I mean, definitely a lot of local stuff: Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto.
Okay.
But those were kind of the two most significant ones.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and I've worked with photographers from all over the world. So it's been a really cool experience just getting to know these people and meeting
Mm-hmm.
with agencies from all over the world. And you just get this from New York and um, from all over Asia, from Tokyo and Singapore and all these places, and Milan. And it's just been a crazy experience. It's really just amazing. Like it's such a cultural difference in a lot of these photo shoots, and that's something that I'd never realized, that you
Mm.
can really tell a lot about where the person is from just based off the photos they take, or based off
Mm.
how they design or how they do makeup.
Right.
And I've gotten so many different photos that give off different vibes and different angles from myself, and I look different in every single one,
Hmm.
just because everything I've done has been with someone from a different part of the world. So it's been really cool, and it's been a blessing that I've gotten to see all these different versions of myself,
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. You don't really recognize yourself, right? Because it's
Oh yeah,
such a
there's
different person.
so many pictures where I'm like, is that me? Like, like I know there's lots of makeup and there's some editing,
Right.
but
Right.
that's me. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is you. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I mean, thank you so much for sharing all these experiences and being honest about, beauty and fashion. I think it's really nice to hear, and obviously to hear about your life and all those crazy experiences.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, as I said, I don't consider myself a creative, so it's always nice to be able to talk about creativity in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so thank
wanted
you
to
so much.
provide that for you. Of course. Oh my God, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for making time too. I know you have school, obviously, so
Hmm.
I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. I mean, we'll keep talking, but I'm going to end recording.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the Art Versations podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help the podcast grow. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at ArtVersationsPod. That's ArtVersationsPod. You'll find photos of each of my guests so you can match a voice to a face. Let's keep the conversation going. DM me with your own thoughts about art, as I would love to hear them. I'm always up for a good old-fashioned chat. Till next time.